Memphis, Tennessee, Graceland, August 18th, 2 days after Elvis Presley's death. The mansion feels like a tomb. Family members, friends, and estate managers move quietly through the rooms, trying to process the reality that the king of rock and roll is gone forever. Vernon Presley, Elvis's father, has been avoiding his son's bedroom. The thought of going through Elvis's most personal belongings is overwhelming. But the lawyers need an inventory of valuable items, and someone has to start the heartbreaking task. Vernon finally enters Elvis's bedroom at 3 p.m. Accompanied by Priscilla and Elvis's longtime friend Joe Esposito, the room still smells like Elvis's cologne. His reading glasses are on the nightstand. His pills are scattered across the bathroom counter, a tragic reminder of how he died. They work in silence, cataloging jewelry, clothing, and personal items. Vernon is going through the bookshelf when he notices something odd. One section of books seems to sit differently than the others. When he pulls on The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, one of Elvis's favorite books, the entire section of shelving swings inward like a door. Behind it is a small room, maybe 8 feet by 10 feet, that none of them knew existed. This is creative storytelling, inspired by the mysteries that still surround Graceland and the private aspects of Elvis's life that remain unknown to this day. The secret room is dimly lit by a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The walls are lined with file cabinets, lockboxes, and shelves filled with items that Elvis clearly never wanted anyone to see. There's a small desk with a chair, suggesting Elvis spent significant time in this hidden space. Vernon, Priscilla, and Joe stand in the doorway, stunned. None of them had any idea this room existed. In all the years they'd been in and out of Elvis's bedroom, through all the renovations and redecorating, this space had remained completely secret. "How long has this been here?" Priscilla whispers. Vernon shakes his head. "I have no idea. Elvis never mentioned it." Joe Esposito examines the hidden door mechanism. This isn't amateur work. This was professionally installed. Someone who knew what they were doing built this. They step into the room carefully, like they're entering a tomb. The air is stale but not musty, suggesting the space has been used recently. On the desk are several notebooks written in Elvis's distinctive handwriting. The first one Vernon opens makes his blood run cold. It's dated January 1956, just after Elvis signed with RCA Records. The entries read like a diary, but they contain information that could have destroyed careers and changed music history if they'd ever been made public. The first shocking entry is about Colonel Parker. Elvis writes about discovering that his manager has been skimming money from his contracts, taking much more than the agreed-upon percentage. But Elvis also writes that he's afraid to confront the colonel because of something the colonel told him about his past. The colonel says he has information about other people that could ruin them if I ever try to leave. Elvis writes. "He showed me photographs and documents that would destroy some very powerful people in Hollywood and Washington. I'm trapped." Vernon looks at Priscilla with horror. "Elvis knew about the colonel's theft from the very beginning?" "It gets worse," Joe says, reading over Vernon's shoulder. "Look at this entry from 1958 to NT5. The 1958 entry describes a meeting Elvis had with FBI agents who wanted him to inform on other entertainers who might have communist sympathies. According to Elvis's account, he refused to cooperate and was told that his career could be significantly impacted if he didn't reconsider. They wanted me to report on people like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie," Elvis writes. "They said rock and roll was being used to corrupt American youth and that I could help them identify the real troublemakers. I told them I just want to make music, not spy on other musicians." But the most shocking revelation comes in a 1959 entry written while Elvis was in the Army. Elvis describes receiving a letter from a woman claiming to be his half-sister, a daughter that Vernon had with another woman before he married Gladys. Her name is Sarah, Elvis writes. She's 3 years older than me and has been looking for our father her whole life. She sent pictures, and there's no doubt she's Vernon's daughter. She looks exactly like him, but if this comes out, it will destroy Mama's memory and tear our family apart. I've been sending her money every month to help with her children, but I can't acknowledge her publicly. Vernon drops the notebook like it's on fire. This can't be true. Elvis was making this up. He had to be. But Priscilla finds more evidence. In one of the file cabinets are bank records showing monthly payments of $500 to a Sarah Mitchell in Louisville, Kentucky, going back to 1959 and continuing until Elvis's death. There are also letters from Sarah thanking Elvis for his generosity and updating him on her life and her children. Elvis had a half-sister he was supporting for 18 years. Priscilla says, her voice barely audible, and none of us knew. The revelations keep coming. Another notebook contains Elvis's detailed accounts of affairs with married women, including the wives of prominent politicians and business leaders. Elvis names names and provides details that would have caused massive scandals if they'd ever been revealed. But he also writes about feeling guilty and trying to end these relationships. I never meant for it to happen, he writes about one affair, but she was so unhappy in her marriage, and I was lonely. Now I'm in too deep, and I don't know how to get out without hurting everyone involved. In another file cabinet, they find photographs that Elvis apparently took without the subject's knowledge. Pictures of Colonel Parker meeting with men who Elvis identifies as organized crime figures. Pictures of record executives exchanging briefcases of cash. Pictures of politicians at parties that were clearly not meant for public consumption. Elvis was documenting everything. Joe realizes he was keeping evidence of all the corruption he witnessed. But the most disturbing discovery is a series of letters between Elvis and a private investigator named Marcus Webb. The letters, spanning from 1962 to 1975, show that Elvis hired Webb to investigate people in his life, friends, family members, business associates, even romantic interests. The investigation reports reveal shocking information about people Elvis trusted. One report shows that a member of the Memphis Mafia had been selling information about Elvis to tabloid magazines for years. Another reveals that one of Elvis's girlfriends was actually married and using their relationship to advance her husband's business interests. Most devastating is a report about Vernon himself. Webb discovered that Vernon had been having an affair with Elvis's stepmother, Dee Stanley, before he married her, while he was still married to Gladys. The report includes photographs and witness statements proving the affair began at least 2 years before Gladys died. Vernon stares at the report about his own infidelity, his face pale. How could Elvis know about this and never say anything? They find Elvis's response to that particular report in another notebook. I hired Marcus to find the truth, but sometimes the truth is too painful to face. Now I know why Mama was so unhappy in her final years. She knew about Vernon and Dee. That knowledge killed her as much as any disease. But what's the point of confronting him now? It won't bring Mama back, and it will only cause more pain. The secret room contains evidence of Elvis's growing paranoia and depression as he learned more and more disturbing truths about the people around him. Later notebooks show his increasing reliance on prescription drugs to cope with the weight of all the secrets he was carrying. I feel like I'm drowning in other people's lies, he writes in 1973. Everyone wants something from me, and everyone is hiding something from me. I don't know who to trust anymore. The pills are the only thing that make it stop hurting. But perhaps the most heartbreaking discovery is a series of unsent letters Elvis wrote to various people over the years. Letters to his mother, apologizing for not being able to save her. Letters to Priscilla, taking full responsibility for their divorce. Letters to Lisa Marie, explaining why he couldn't be the father she deserved. One unsent letter is addressed to his fans. You see me as the king of rock and roll, but I'm just a scared kid from Mississippi who got lucky. I've spent my whole life trying to be worthy of your love, but I'm not sure I ever succeeded. I hope you remember the music and forget the man, because the man has made too many mistakes. The final notebook in the room is dated just a week before Elvis's death. The entries are brief and heartbreaking. I'm tired of carrying everyone else's secrets. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine when it's not. I'm tired of being Elvis Presley. I just want to be free. Vernon, Priscilla, and Joe spend 4 hours in the secret room, discovering revelation after revelation about Elvis's private life and the burden he carried. The room contains enough explosive information to destroy dozens of reputations and change how the world views several major figures from the 1960s and 1970s as they prepare to leave the room. They face an impossible decision. What do they do with all this information? The notebooks could vindicate Elvis in many ways, showing that he was aware of the corruption around him and tried to document it. But they could also destroy the lives of people who are still alive, including family members and friends who had no idea Elvis knew their secrets. We can't let this information get out, Priscilla says finally. It would hurt too many innocent people. Vernon agrees. Elvis kept these secrets for a reason. Maybe we should keep keeping them. They decide to reseal the room and never speak of its contents to anyone. The decision weighs heavily on all three of them, but they understand that Elvis created this room as a way to process the painful truths he discovered, not as a way to expose them to the world. Over the next several days, they quietly remove the most explosive documents and destroy them. The photographs of criminal activity are turned over to law enforcement agencies anonymously. The evidence of the colonel's financial crimes is given to Elvis's new lawyers to help them renegotiate the estate's relationship with Parker. But most of the personal information, the affairs, essays, the family secrets, the private investigations, is destroyed to protect the people involved. The room itself is cleaned out and eventually converted into a storage space for Elvis's awards and memorabilia. The hidden door is sealed permanently, and the entrance is covered by a new bookshelf that doesn't move. To this day, only Vernon, Priscilla, and Joe Esposito knew the full truth about what Elvis had discovered and documented about the people in his life. Vernon took most of the secrets to his grave when he died in 1979. Joe has never spoken publicly about what they found. Priscilla has occasionally hinted that Elvis knew more about people than they realized, but she's never revealed specifics. The decision to destroy most of the evidence has haunted all three of them. They've sometimes wondered if they made the right choice, if Elvis would have wanted his story to be told completely and honestly, regardless of who it hurt. But they've also seen how painful it was for Elvis to carry all those secrets alone. They understood that the weight of everyone else's lies and betrayals contributed to his depression and drug abuse. In protecting others from exposure, they were also protecting Elvis's memory from being forever associated with scandal and betrayal. This story is creative storytelling, inspired by the many unanswered questions about Elvis's private life and the secrets that likely died with him. While this specific secret room is fictional, it represents the kinds of private knowledge that someone in Elvis's position would have accumulated over his career. Elvis Presley was indeed known to be extremely observant about the people around him. Friends and family members often commented on his ability to see through people's facades and understand their real motivations. He was also known to be incredibly loyal, sometimes to a fault, protecting people who didn't necessarily deserve his protection. The idea that Elvis might have documented the corruption and betrayal he witnessed is not far-fetched. Many celebrities from that era kept detailed records of their interactions with business associates and industry figures, partly for legal protection and partly to process their experiences. What is definitely true is that Elvis carried a heavy emotional burden throughout his career. He was surrounded by people who wanted to use him for their own purposes, and he was often unsure who he could really trust. This isolation and suspicion contributed to his depression and his reliance on prescription drugs to cope with stress. The people closest to Elvis, Vernon, Priscilla, and the Memphis Mafia, did indeed face difficult decisions after his death about how much of his private life to reveal and how much to keep secret. They generally chose to protect Elvis's privacy and the privacy of others, sometimes at the cost of historical accuracy. Whether there really was a secret room at Graceland, we may never know. But the spirit of this story, that Elvis saw and knew more than he ever let on, and that he carried the weight of other people's secrets as well as his own, rings true to what we know about his character and his life. The real tragedy of Elvis Presley's story may not be just that he died young, but that he lived with so much knowledge about human nature's darker aspects and chose to protect others rather than expose them, even when that choice contributed to his own suffering. In the end, the secret room represents all the truths that Elvis took with him to the grave, not because he was ashamed of them, but because he understood that some knowledge is too dangerous to share and some secrets are too painful to reveal. If this story made you think about the burdens that come with fame and the difficult choices between truth, kindness, I need you to do something right now. Subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because next week we're revealing another hidden truth about Elvis that will change how you see his entire career. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Elvis's family made the right choice in keeping these secrets buried? Should historical truth always come before protecting people's privacy? Share this video with someone who understands that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is keep someone else's secrets safe. Because here's the truth this story teaches us. Real loyalty isn't just standing by someone when they're right. It's protecting them even when they're wrong. And understanding that sometimes keeping a secret is the greatest act of love you can perform. The music is bigger than any of us, but the secrets behind the music, those belong to the people who live them, and maybe that's exactly where they should stay. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of Elvis's most private space. I'll see you in the next one, where we'll uncover another truth that powerful people tried to keep hidden. Remember, everyone has secrets. The measure of a person isn't whether they have them, but what they do with the secrets of others. Thanks for watching.